from Click to Care, how AI is rewriting the post-purchase experience. Want to talk CX, post-purchase AI. To do that, brought on Larry Toma. Larry is currently by day kind of a CX expert at Parcel Lab, but he's also by night the CX mixer guru. He's got his event series and also his podcast, some seriously cool stuff. So Larry, thanks for joining. How are you, my man?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm excited that you asked me to be part of this. I kind of am a nerd when it comes to CX stuff, so I did change my LinkedIn title to CX specialist, because that's all I talk about, but obviously passionate about my CX mixer stuff, where most people know me from as well.
Let's do it. Well, maybe hit that first. Want to dive into a myriad of topics, but yeah, tell us a little bit about Parcel Lab. Tell us a little bit about CX Mixer. What's going on over there?
Yeah, so Parcel Lab is a white labeled global post-purchase solution, right? So we're helping brands that have some complexity in their customer experience after the buy button, and that's tracking, that's communications, that's estimated delivery date, returns, exchanges, warranty, claims, all that stuff. So it's given me, I've been there almost 4 years now, so it's given me an opportunity to meet a lot of cool brands. And what I love about Parcel Lab is we've got some young, fun founders, and so based in Germany, but here in the US now, and they're like, whatever you want to do, we support you. And so I had this crazy idea about, I kind of wanted to own something myself. So started this CX Mixer thing, and came to them a year ago and said, CX Mixer's turned into something fun. I've got a lot of friends that are showing up to these events now. I want to brag about these friendships and start a podcast. And so started a little podcast called the CX Mixer. They probably wish I talked about Parcel Lab on the podcast, but I always tell people it's not a sales pitch. So yeah. And so just wrapped up season 2 of the podcast, and starting to already think about season 3 and how I can take this over to some European and German-based brands and stuff like that.
So cool. Julie and I have chatted, your founder. Yeah, there's some fun. That's a fun crew over there. But some cool ideas, and truthfully, kudos on the CX Mixer stuff in particular. It feels like I was hearing some inklings of it. Now I feel like it's everywhere. So it's definitely on people's roadmaps, on their purview. I mean, they know what's going on, and I think you have helped kind of establish some of these CX different communities. So thanks for all your work on that. If somebody wants to learn about that, where do I find it? It's just,
I always say LinkedIn's best. If
it is best,
that's where I'm posting everything, right?
Because there's not a website per se.
No, I probably should do that. But, honestly, it's all about LinkedIn, because it's all about connecting brands. Yeah. But then also the podcast is on Spotify, Apple, and then my favorite is YouTube. It's more vanity metrics, right? I can see how many people actually view it. I'm thankful that people listen on Spotify. I wish more people watched on YouTube. I put bloopers at the end of every episode. And then you can kind of see I've built it around this sort of 90s aesthetic of Nickelodeon. Everyone's like, oh, your logo's kind of ugly. But I also think that it stands out and people remember it. And nostalgia sells, right? I got to find CX Mixer Gigapets or something and bring back Gigapets.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the Chia Pets.
Yeah.
I was looking at that. That's right. It's got kind of a 90s jive there. But either way, I know it's working. I know a lot of people right now more than ever. There's so much going on. Being able to get together, look people in the eyes, exchange ideas has been super important. So thanks for that. Follow Larry for more. One other thing before we dive into the topic, we're obviously partner on this AI CX Summit virtual event coming up on December 10th. Why now? What is it? Give us kind of the quick overview and why you think that's cool.
Yeah, I think this comes up a lot on the podcast episodes. It comes up a lot in conversations. I was just out in LA a couple weeks ago where the entire topic was a thought leadership group. The entire topic was around AI. Yeah. I think when you first approached me about the idea for this AI CX Summit, I kind of was thinking I think AI is important. But as I started sort of prepping with some of the brands that we're going to have on, it's man, people are really leaning into this. And I think there's always this idea of hey, I always think about that South Park meme where they're taking our jobs, right? AI is coming in, they're going to take all these jobs away. But I think the brands that get it are really leaning into it, and they're figuring out, how can I use AI to enhance and make better? I think everybody's using AI. Everybody knows ChatGPT, right? They're using AI for LinkedIn posts. We all know if your LinkedIn post has that long M dash, no one knew what an M dash was before.
I did. Wait, I knew what an M dash was.
Well, you're a marketing guy, maybe.
There's so many people who are no, I used it before, and it's
no, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
But
you were one in a million.
It takes your thoughts, makes it better, right? It enhances it, but it's not replacing you actually going in and posting it and doing the work and blah, blah, blah. So I've noticed this as I'm talking to some of these brands. It's they're thinking about, how can I use AI to enhance what I'm doing and to excel or accelerate growth and the customer experience and performance, and ultimately grow these brands that they're part of.
Yeah, it really, I mean, I love that first part, man. To your point, it just feels like more and more people are leaning in. And much like the CX mixer, we got to find ways to just share ideas, talk, learn from others. Because as soon as you think you got it figured out, it changes. And I don't think most people have it figured out anyway.
Yeah.
We're all learning together. I think you'll learn a lot from practitioners, from tech companies, thought leaders who are just trying to kind of figure out CX and certainly this AI trend that's all hit us right in the face. So,
Yeah, for sure.
cool. All right, man. Well, let's dive in kind of to CX and AI a little bit. I'd love to get your take on some stuff. You're around so many brands. Wanted to start big picture. What is going on in CX right now? Like, give us the 100,000-foot view of just some of the things you're hearing. You're talking to all these people. What's going on in your mind?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've been talking to a lot of brands about, specifically around this idea of post-purchase. So brands and business in general has always been focused on customer acquisition, right? It's all about getting new customers, marketing, this outbound marketing idea, putting money into Meta, all this stuff, right? Now the brands who are getting it are starting to realize it's about brand loyalty, it's about trust, it's about kind of like creating a custom feel for your customers after they buy, because that's when they're most excited about your product, right? When I'm waiting for something to come to my house, I'm most excited for.
Yeah, there's like this honeymoon period, right? That's like but it doesn't last forever. That's for sure. You gotta kind of
Yeah, I
strike.
mean, so then the brands that I'm talking to around AI are thinking, okay, well, now how can I take all these different technologies that I'm using, right? And power these agents, these AI agents, these AI chatbots to then provide enhancement to my customer experience, whether it's a lot of people are talking about reaching out to customers when they're on the product description page and giving them feedback on how products look. I see this a lot in health and wellness companies. Can we shout out brands? I don't know. Are we?
Oh, yeah, you can
They're not a Parcel Lab customer, but this is kind of a shout out. Create Wellness. They're like a creatine gummy brand. They do this really well.
Creatine gummy.
They do this really good. You're on their page and it's almost like they know you're looking at, I mean, they obviously know, you're looking at a product, and this chat bot pops up and is like, hey, you got some questions around it. And if they know your name, if they know who you are through cookies, they can tailor that a little bit more to you. I'm pretty sure it's a sales agent that they're using. So brands are starting to think about it more on how to convert customers after you've acquired them to your website. But then once you've acquired them, brands have always, we say at Parcel Lab, brands check out at checkout. They've kind of thought, okay, I've gotten them to buy the product. Now let me work on the next person I need to buy the product. And really that's the time to control the narrative, kind of like you were saying, this honeymoon period, control the narrative.
I like these. Let's dive into a couple of these areas. So obviously in Parcel Labs, you guys kind of work in that post-purchase area. I've heard you guys talk about the new profit center. I love that idea. Would you say at checkout? You don't check out. Yeah, that's great. I might have to steal that one. But what do you feel like are some of the more overlooked moments after checkout that drive some of that real retention?
Yeah, sorry. I was just thinking, we both have the same wall color. I wonder if people think we're in the same room. Should I just look over and be like, hey, I'm in this? We're not.
Look, look, when you do podcasts like this, we've upgraded our lighting.
Yeah.
All this fancy stuff.
We're not in the same room though. But okay, so what moment do I think that
some of those overlooked moments you mentioned after checkout that you feel really drive retention?
Yeah, I think when you think about post-purchase, everybody knows that hey, your order's been shipped, it's out for delivery, it's delivered. Those are kind of table stakes. Every platform can do that. What I'm talking to brands about more is, what about that 2% of your orders that go wrong, right? We've seen this happen a lot this year around, not so much in the US, but more internationally in Canada, these carrier strikes, tariffs, inventory issues. A lot of brands don't like to highlight the fact that things are coming in from Mexico, things are coming in from China, but now suddenly you have all this inventory that is stuck, but you have orders that are coming in. And I think the brands that are focused on turning CX and their post-purchase CX into a profit center are now saying, okay, how do I communicate to Gabe that we're not meeting your expectations? We told you you'd get it, by Friday, November 14th. Now it looks like it's not coming till Monday. How are we communicating with that? I think most brands in the past just kind of said, let's not say anything and hope Gabe's not super upset about it. Yeah. But now you're so used to shopping on Amazon, you want it 2 days, 2 days from the day that you ordered it. So having to wait through the weekend makes you an upset customer. So how are you communicating with them and saying like, hey, we're so sorry, Gabe, that this is late. Here's 20% off your next order, but not being reactive, being proactive, like getting ahead of that.
And that, I mean, they're just saying that so many brands are facing that right now, right?
Yeah.
Because of some of the, let's just use the word tariffy, but shipping challenges, whatever. But that so many of us fall into the reactivity of it. How do you get a little more proactive and get ahead of that, because it is now part of kind of the way things are working. And how are any thoughts on how people are doing that successfully? I mean, that there's always a challenge to get proactive, right?
Yeah, I think like I am a big fan of True Classic. I'm wearing a True Classic shirt. I'm wearing a True Classic jacket. A big fan of the brand. They do a really good job of this idea too around when things are a little delayed. And it's rare that things are delayed. They're shipping stuff all the time. But if it is, they're saying, hey, here's 20% off your next order. We're sorry. What that does is that creates this repeat revenue. Now you've turned, maybe a first time customer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you're saying, instead of just giving me my money back, you're saying, hey, we know you're going to like the product. On that next order, here's 20% off. So now you're turning that moment into a reconversion moment, but then also like leveraging some AI, to bring it back to AI, around this like segmentation on how are you looking at a first time customer and a VIP customer, or maybe geographically, like how you're pulling in some of that stuff. And I think one thing I've learned through the podcast is people tend to think that CX is this cost center where they're not generating revenue, but they're actually fighting fraud. They're turning customers into repeat customers. It's actually the most important part of your business to generate additional revenue.
Yeah. What do you say to those people who kind of are in that paradigm, right? That's still, I mean, you nailed it. It's kind of CX, it's all cost center. And some people are starting to figure out ways and tactics to do the profit center motion. Things you say to them, or how do you start to get people to shift that mindset so that they do find those moments of truth to turn them into revenue generating opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing, and I'm just parroting what I've learned from some of the brands that I talk to, right, is like getting executives to sit in and you saw this probably in your previous world around like, customer service tools, like getting them to sit in and actually use the tools that the CX teams are using. Been having a lot of conversations around this idea of fraud and policy abuse and these things that are like soft cost issues that you don't actually see, right? Everybody knows like how many tickets you're doing and how many customer service agents am I paying, but like they're when they're stopping people from being fraudulent or giving like frivolous returns or exchanges and keeping, CX touches so many pieces of the business that you might be, as a brand leader, you might be too far removed from it. And I think if you're a brand leader and you think that your CX team is just answering phone calls all day and replying to emails, you're missing out on what they're doing, because they're actually like telling the product and the marketing teams like, hey, we're getting a lot of pushback around the way that these shirts fit. Like this is big in fashion, right? Let's add something to the description page. They're touching every part of your business. And I think sometimes these brand leaders get a little bit removed from that. And so then oftentimes when money gets tight, they look to cut CX. And I think I'm kind of on this mission to be like, that should be the last place that you touch, because they're keeping your customers loyal.
Yeah, and I don't know. Yeah, one, I love that leaders have got to find a way to just get in the weeds sometimes and experience that, because it is sometimes just emails and phone. I do love that concept, but yeah, can you really turn this into a profit center? So many people are thinking it is just the checkout at checkout. We check out, when they check out, we'll be done. So much missed opportunity there. Really diving down makes a huge difference. I like that. Let's flip for a second. Go one more step on AI for a minute. Again, talking to a bunch of brands, and even in pre-show, you were kind of saying this. You're like, I mean, AI's coming up all the time. I mean, it's here, and we're all trying to wrestle with it. What do you feel like brands are wrestling with when they talk about it? Is it just adopting it? Is it choosing vendors, building it themselves? They don't even know what it is, or is it something more specific? What are you kind of hearing?
I think like a lot of these, I think Shopify brands do a really good job of leaning into AI. Say more enterprise brands are not jumping on. Maybe it's just because their tech stacks are a little bit like antiquated or dated, and they feel like it's hard to integrate as easy it is for some of these other brands that can add it quickly. But I think that what I'm hearing is a lot of brands that are bringing on an AI tool are hoping to, when they're leaning into it, automate 30 to 40% of whatever the task is, whether it's converting sales, whether it's reducing customer service tickets, answering phone calls. But the brands who are really kind of leading are pushing that to 60 to 70%. But the brands that are resisting the idea of AI are the ones who are struggling to figure out, how do I find a technology that automates for me, but I don't lose that human touch. And I think like, I've been prepping with these brands for this AI CX summit, and that's a big thing. It's like, who's your demographic as a brand that the customers that are buying from you, are they going to be okay with AI? I think a lot of younger people, like, if it's a good AI agent, I don't mind talking to
Yeah,
uh,
that's interesting.
somebody
You're
that
right.
can answer all my questions. So I would say,
The experience matters. But so you're hearing a lot of people, how do I find the balance of kind of tech and humanity? How do I keep the personalization while getting the efficiency probably that a tool like AI can bring?
if you're using it, if you approach it as a way of like, let's not replace, like, I don't want to replace my customer service agents, but I want to enhance what they're doing. How do I take off? I think if you're looking at it, that 20 to 30% automation, how do I take off those low level tickets?
Mm,
Parcel Lab, we have a couple AI agents, and they're just handling, where's my order, where's my return, where's my refund, how do I do an exchange? Really basic questions.
totally.
But that just takes that like mundane task off the agents for our brands, and then they can focus on when somebody is actually upset, when somebody has a question around fit or style or has something, then the agent can really step in when it's like you need that human empathy side, but like, let them focus on other things, right? That's where I see brands who are really doing it smart.
Is there one more click down, you'd say, within the customer journey? So you gave a couple, like the Wizmo is a great one. Is there any other place where you're like, when I've been talking to these brands, oh, you mentioned kind of like the co-pilot, so assisting the
Mhm.
agents, maybe doing something. So there's two. Is there a third one or a fourth one that come to mind where you've been like, yeah, I'm hearing people use it in the warranties, or is anywhere else in the process? Or are those kind of the two big ones you're hearing right now, like the deflection on the front end for low priority items and maybe some assisting or co-piloting for some reps?
Yeah, but I think the sales piece
Ah,
is the pre-conversion
I
piece.
like that.
Sales agents is a really hot topic, because these brands have so much data on their customers, right? Like, it's not a no, like an
What
unknown.
is the sales? What would that mean for audiences that doesn't know? Like, what would that mean? Like a
Yeah,
sales?
yeah. Like, it could be as basic as, I actually go into your chatbot and I ask a question about a product, right? And I'm like, you're reactively approaching me with this agent who knows your product, they know your FAQs. I'm asking questions, and then maybe it's like, oh, you like this black T-shirt in size large? Here, let me link you to that product description page.
Yep.
The brands that are really leaning into it are saying, well, how do we then push that person to cart? Like, I don't want them to go to the product description page. I want to know, I know enough about my own product. I'm learning enough about them. The agent is trained enough to then say, now let me push those people to cart. And then the ones that are really good with it are then having that chatbot open up. You probably don't even notice it unless you're really, I mean, brands who are listening know it because they're in the industry. But when you're on a product description page next time and that chatbot pops up at the bottom, see what it says. It might say like, hey Gabe, can I help answer any questions? Or hey Gabe, I see you're looking at X.
Yeah.
Did you know these are the benefits and features of it? And they're trying to convert you on those product
Yep.
description pages.
Yeah.
And you think you're talking to, maybe you think you're talking to a real person. Maybe there is a human behind it, and they step in once you actually start asking questions. I'm a big fan of Dr. Squatch's chatbot. We're going to talk about this on the AI Summit. We talk about
Oh,
it on the CX
oh,
Mixer.
oh, cool, cool.
Their guy's Chad. He's got a personality. He's got a background. They've fed him all this data. He knows everything. You can just talk to him about life.
Yeah.
And, and then, oh, by the way, here's the soap that we like, and here's the checkout, and go ahead and buy more.
It kind of goes down that path. No, I love it, man. Those are great examples. Okay. Do you this is a little bit of random, but I wanted your take on that. What do you feel like you're talking to so many of these brands, and part of it is building like an optimal tech stack. And with the CX Mixer, you're partnering with so many different companies. I'm curious what you feel like are some of and you're going to do some shout outs here, but I want you to do it. So I'm encouraging. What are some of those technologies that are names of companies that are really helping build this ultimate stack so that brands can be successful? I mean, you're just so close to both. I'd love to hear
Yeah,
your
this when you send me the prep questions, I think this one's kind of hard because I try, even for my own company. Like I said, I joke that I think Parcel Lab wishes I talked about them more on my CX Mixer stuff. I try to be a little bit agnostic because I think different tech for different people. Now, I think that when I was thinking about this, I was thinking, as you're looking at any technology, you should be asking them, what are they doing to invest in AI? Because every SaaS company is doing it. I think one that comes up a lot for me, and I like their team, and it's a hot topic around phones, right? Phone agents. I think Flip does a really good job around handling phone calls for
Yeah.
brands. And what I mean is a hot topic is brands are always like, do we have a phone number? Do we not have a phone number? Do we take phone? Do we not take phone? It comes up all the time on the podcast. People are either all in on it or they're like, absolutely not. I do not want a phone. I do not want a phone agent. I did, there's a really cool, just for personal use AI, like for people like internally. I just learned about this company called Beside. I think they just raised some money, and they're like an AI personal receptionist.
Yeah.
That will take notes, take tasks. You can have, when people call in, they sound like a human. They'll gather all the information and they'll say, great, let me get all this info. Do you want someone to call you? Do you want to email them back? Can I answer any questions? Can I schedule time for you? I think that's a cool one.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, there's more popping up, and I love your point is if it's not moving towards AI a little bit, be a little bit wary. Any other advice you'd give on trying to find AI tool or, technology tools as people, even such as how do you navigate the ever increasing noise?
Yeah, I think it's more so that brands are saying, like, we understand that AI is going to solve all these problems that we have, but what the AI agent is only as good as the information that you give it. So
Yeah.
some of the brands have been telling me, which I think is so interesting, is like having your CX teams write up like a report almost of weird things that have happened throughout the day or weird scenarios, and then feeding it to these AI agents so that they're constantly learning new stuff, new things. I joke about the Dr. Squatch bot, but like giving it a personality, making it part of your team, like giving it a background. I think that is an underutilized. Give it a persona.
Yeah.
And like you should be looking into that. And I think like test it out, right? A lot of these AI focused companies that are AI specific, that sounds like they do a lot of A/B testing. They kind of let you try it, because now with certain technologies, you can spin these up really quick, right?
Yeah.
And so try it out, pit them against each other, see which one works best for you, because I think every brand is a little different. Just like there's a lot of other post-purchase providers out there, right, as well. Like I obviously think I'm the best, but there's other people that think they're the best. You got to find out which one works for your brand and your vision.
Yeah, I love it, man. Super interesting. Great advice. Love hitting some variety of topics, tech and AI and CX and post-purchase. If you had to have one piece of advice to the audience, they're all trying to figure out the CX world. They're all trying to learn about AI. They're all trying to make that brand the best they can. What would be that kind of leave behind? What advice would you give them?
Listen to my podcast.
Yeah.
I'm looking for guests. I'm looking for guests for season 3. I need more guests. No, I think that one thing that CX teams do really well is they talk to each other. So I'd say ask questions of other CX people. Be really hyper vigilant on the experiences that you like of the brands that you buy from. I think because we're in the industry all the time, and especially brands buying from other brands, you overlook a lot of the special touches that people do. Yeah. And so really like looking and kind of like saying like, what brands do I actually like to buy from, and what does their experience look like? And then introduce them to me so I can get them on my podcast, and then we'll ask them what they actually do behind the scenes.
No, that's awesome. That I really appreciate it, man. So we can wrap with that. So if somebody wants to dive into this a little more with you, learn about Parcel Lab, where do we kind of connect with you to kind of continue the dialogue?
Yeah, I mean, so LinkedIn. For personal pages, obviously Larry Toma, they can look me up. CX Mixer, LinkedIn page on any platforms. I share a lot of good clips. If you don't want to listen to the podcast, I always share a good clip around like some takeaways from it. And I got a good production team that edits them up and makes them fun so they're engaging. But I'll have some pretty good events at NRF coming up, E-Tail, Shop Talk. I've got kind of a stacked Q1. So if brands, the whole idea is like getting brands introduced to other brands so that they actually leave with like people that they can ask these questions to. Like I'm on the vendor side. I'm not living the day-to-day. So like I said, I always hear from other brands, but they can actually talk to people that are in the weeds doing it. And I'm also happy to connect anybody in my network that wants to talk to other people. I started this Moms of Ecom group because I met so many moms that are in CX, and I can't even join this own group that I've introduced people to.
Dude, you're a busy man.
Feed them into this group. Shout out Ashley at Caraway. She's the gatekeeper. I introduce her, and then she adds them into this group that I kind of quasi started, but I can't even be part of it.
That's awesome. Moms of e-commerce. Yeah, I probably don't fit there either, but cool, man. All right. Well, I really appreciate the time. Fun talk track for the audience. Have a fantastic day.